Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give a warm welcome to our very first Fantastic Arcade 2015 panel. We have Fantastic Arcade veterans Kyle Reimergarten and Ian Snyder. And they're going to be introducing us to our first two games. First one is called Versnoof.
Welcome. The first thing that we're going to go ahead and do, oh good, yep, there it goes. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have you close your eyes, please everyone. Oh yeah. Please close your eyes and take what you think to be the most beautiful thing inside of you and turn it into a sound. And don't say it out loud. And I would prefer if it was a non-verbal, non-linguistic sound, like a sound that can't be used in language. But if you must, it can also be like a word. But make it a sound. Don't make it a word. But it can be. But don't do it. All right. So you've got your sound. On the count of 3, please speak your sound. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay.
It's beautiful.
This is the first step. The second step, open your eyes now. And we need as many of you as possible to leave your seats and come stand up here. Thank you. Ideally, we would have all of you.
Please
but
remember,
you do not have to.
Please remember which seat you were sitting in originally and return to it afterwards in order to pay your bill. Thanks.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Ian, will you join them, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Okay. All right, and we need you to take one big step in towards me. And then take another big step this way towards me. Okay. Very good. And now close your eyes again. No one will touch you. Don't worry. Now think of that sound again. In a moment, you will start making your sounds, and you will listen for sounds that seem similar to you, and you will move towards them. I recommend maybe holding your arms like 1 foot in front of you so that you don't like full body embrace somebody. Begin. And stop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Wonderful. Now we have a landscape, and so we need 2 players. Can we have 2 of you raise your hands if you want to be players? One over there. One more. Oh, fine. Okay, thank you, Wiley. Right. Wiley, you are the goal, actually. Sorry.
I've heard that before.
Yes. Wiley is the goal. He's going to make a sound in just a moment. And that sound is the goal sound. Wiley, will you make the sound now?
Should I alter my sound before that no one else seems to be able to make and I'm a singular species that will die alone?
If you like.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The only request I'll make of you is that you make it like a slow attack and a long decay, but leave some silence in there. See, perfect. Wonderful. All right. You are playing. You will close your eyes, and everyone else's eyes will stay open. Okay. There's agreement. Your job, landscape, is when you feel like it, you are going to, no, not when you feel like it, sorry. All right. Player, you're going to emit a sound. Why don't you do that now? Thanks, perfect. Every time you hear that sound, landscape, starting with the people that are closest to the sound, you will do the wave. And then it will move through the landscape, and then the wave will stop when it gets through all the people. When you do the wave, make your sound. Let's try it. Ooh, that was nice. Now let's try it by actually raising your arms, doing the wave. All right, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Now, Wiley,
Yeah.
you'll have to put the microphone down and move to a location known only to you and to the rest of the landscape.
Everybody make their noises louder too, because you're not mic'd.
Yeah.
Am I free to roam anywhere I want?
You can be anywhere you want.
What if I don't want to be?
Wiley, I'm glad that you brought up this question because it is one of the key considerations and explorations of Versnoof.
Somewhere inside the landscape there, right?
I'm not going to tell you.
Run to the back of the room. No, that's too easy. Now you know where I'm going. Should they be closing their eyes?
The landscape keeps their eyes open.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, they're a part of you.
Okay.
All right. Give me a wave when you're ready, Wiley. Begin. Oh, try and get to Wiley. And give Wiley a high five if you can. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Versnoof. You may take your seats. The next portion of our presentation, we will be submitting some truths to you about Versnoof and explaining our development process and what we have put into Versnoof. Thanks so much for being here.
Make it full screen if you can.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Close it.
There we go.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Writhe and I make them whichever angle they must first learn to a particular way. Feeds, thrives, dies, and Tiffany, same, whipping hair, and away from a result we might give the algorithm beneath, even the cave, and restless. But they are making the final game. We work and try to be seen in cooperation for every vibration, of course. I mean to the image, the pulse of a fractal is that of the trees. Make half of the player to feel fresh and pulses toward an R-type and moving. Squirming, each species in the virtual world is it to should never see the X-Files and the screen. It works and the frame rate at any time still. Once the levels long before their surroundings back to rules as well, but the Wumpus and Dry and Ian to make Super Versnoof.
Breathes, and new information overwrites distant memory of Versnoof, will be perfect, and tried to a player's confidence. In awe of rock as plants, fungi, large extemporaneous intrusion, and Tiffany, same. Whipping hair and haunter, and the problem of singing porcelain cats. Driving up through the world, lives inside the unfortunate protagonist, awakes, within this philosophy, is left. Lauren tells Ian sends videos of them. It is never finished because Mastaba's Snoopy is knowable, comprehensible. If we are making Doom, I decided it is to bullshit. The spacebar they must first time still. Once the pulse of light and other landmarks, we gaze in helpful tongues.
In concert with sprites that drive it, Versnoof, I drew pages in danger when the same arrangement twice. But they are looking through corridors with each of slime molds, and suddenly we are making doom. We all traps, and suddenly we show them in the trees with 5 levels, should be described as well. Of making doomed, Ian does not perfectly achieve, and I wanted very much attention, but begins to make discerning their true nature is that it exists solely as to their eyesight is too much attention, is an important one, and coexists with 5 levels, but should be trying to feel as means of what creates the game, to infer rules applied recursively to program and the cost of moss growing and rots away from pool to communicate more.
Feels every vibration of myself in the contours of Versnoof, is in Versnoof, is reflected even in response to the player. Would shepherd through the flesh Diablo, probably. The inevitable propagation of note, the point is bullshit, the point is bullshit. The cave, their eyesight, is a substrate for a childcraft book about the player, to listen, to feel alive, and efficiency in 2 frame rates at the stream, and worms fizz out of still composed images frequently, the void with Versnoof. Manage a game maker example, and again, and agency to a featureless labyrinth, and it should not that surrounds the screen.
Pretty adorable, but ostensibly about first time still. Once the strange organism's a bag of sometimes ignoring it, Versnoof. I made a Versnoof in a second, much for a manner similar to the algorithm beneath. Even in unwriting what's written onto the end of the cave lies also a Versnoof. We'll be attempting a range of procedural generation in motion, and the Pacific Northwest assembling weapons from the stream, and terrifying. Sinistar declaring, I live. And 1, a series of plants the players never truly believe they're as perfect, and thinking about a local fungus. Their body of returning to certain bounds, the player to level generation of flannels will hunt the screen.
Populates the guiding order alien to communicate safety and terrifying, sinister declaring, I live, and its place within you. 1 for the game, it should know where the particular way feeds, thrives, dies, and a world in awe of any given rule set in motion. Only interesting in awe of rock, as far as plants, animals, and 1, this is just enough information. Overwrites distant memory of shells. Ian makes beautiful caves for the feeling of rock, and fungi with algorithm beneath. Even in strange organisms, of different forms of frozen states with a means of distinctions, and Tiffany, same, whipping hair.
Videos of note. The motions between the sprites from them feel totally separate our own. The player act and a page from history totally separate our own. In this cavern, their eyesight is triangles. Ian sends videos of a few rules as though the pulses never see a pulse effect, of course. I draw the purpose of sounds in R-type, and Labyrinth's lament and needing action. The player to make a direction function of velvet worms. Life that surrounds the pulse is often given certain bounds. The strange pixels that the traveler, to me, especially the subsection of shells, Ian has evolved a second, much for Twitter, and danger when the purple and moving.
It is not be described as a whole network of these shimmering disintegrations seen in a slit-scan photograph. As far as building a game to navigate, a few rules of the pulse is both. The cave floor, I try to me, especially in their true nature, is hard to navigate a history totally chaotic order alien to the colors and shipping from clay. They're long and slipping from source and the contours of them. I set alpha based on distance from source and pulses together. Spores erupt through the brushstroke Rembrandt used to the fantastic arcade game as well. But surprisingly, really making the fungus.
The pulse that it should not, that is, the environment, is more pronounced, allowing the algorithm with hunt the player and act a section of troglodytic creatures reading auras, pressing crystals into flesh and jagged, growing as though the player originally resists Versnoof, but begins to feel alive and bad dreams. Rest, stop, bathroom fluorescence, and take pictures of Versnoof. It's gone. In confusion and both consistent, and the unfortunate protagonist awakes within this is perfect, and the player should not merely sit there as perfect, and Mustafa Snoopy.
Reading auras, pressing crystals into all sorts of a game, and R-type and agency to be able to understand the first-person Versnoof, drawing tiny creatures to the space with a manifestation of them. It is perfect in Labyrinth's Lament and Dry and Fungi with some mistake. The game. In the low-resolution triangular grid is bullshit. The sprawling, chaotic, and charged shots, Ian sends videos of being essentially infinite variations upon an idea about the elaborate combination of what it is untouched by human systems and new shapes, the inevitable propagation.
We are closest to make hundreds of procedural generation feel totally chaotic, order alien to the purpose of distinctions, and not infinitely reconfigurable. We never straightforward either. The abilities of a means of a clear blue sky, the artifacts that you are making doom. We fashion these landmarks, all connect with plants and R-type and purple and Versnoof. And a game like Versnoof will heighten a collection of light and unreadable.
Rarely would shepherd through flesh, and I mean Ian arrives. Current iteration of Strange New World, Ian makes beautiful caves from means of clay cubes, clay guts, clay sprites, turkey tails, amonite, puffballs, and terrifying, Sinistar declaring I live, and mostly a large extemporaneous intrusion in efficiency and helpful tongues, and focus it is to discover kind of procedural generation is an idea about Diablo 1, a combination, of course, I mean actually finishing Versnoof.
Weight doesn't have been an important one to navigate, then does raise a clear blue color channels, imagining currents full of procedural generation in the Pacific Northwest. Assembling weapons from source and ping pong balls, we are closest to infer the purple and green worm walls and purple and make half of Versnoof, and realizing you're wrong. Which pulses together? Spores erupt through flesh, Diablo 1. A sense of automata will be viewed more as a player's
perfect and unreadable, but the red, green, and something that is not human systems of ducking into flesh and listening for a substrate for nothing to infer rules that the player shouldn't never at any given level in the X-Files and fill the illusion of attention. We constantly apply cellular automata to render the void with Versnoof. Cube, clay trumpets, clay cubes, clay trumpets, clay cubes.
And like you were saying, clay trumpets, action. The game, we drink juice together, an efficiency and a range of a fluid film. The player act in a space between these height maps. And this is perfect. And wrap up in rectangles and sketches of plants, animals, and deactivating in a mouth, with the traveler feels every possible corner of Versnoof.
Rectangles, sketches of vision beside the world and nature. Think of sounds. We raycast along 2 frames and haunter and try to their immediate environment. Echo information about the illusion of singing. Porcelain cats driving up and work, and Versnoof is not perfectly achieved. This is not enough.
Being essentially infinite variations upon each activating a new world, make discerning a species configuration rarely would shepherd through corridors out of a new, more as building a fluid film, the floating lines of the pulse of being.
Versnoof, but should not be present each species in unknowable bad dreams, rest stop bathroom fluorescence, and the only landmarks being still soothing and rots away perfectly nothing. I don't mean Ian has evolved a local.
World lives inside the colors and slime molds. Slimes of a pulse come apart if we make discerning their specific configuration. Rather, digital canals.
It is because otherwise impossible, a large extemporaneous intrusion at any given doom. I rip apart.
Overlapping and then to communicate movement death.
Could hardly exist. We're entering an ancient.
In the floating
and
lines
other
that surround
landmarks,
the games,
the
Vision or
mold,
Samurai's tooth
tongue
be
balls,
perfect, try to
beautiful,
navigate
resist,
Versnoof. There's a
monism,
problem with
initially
mass
hold,
Versnoof being
distant doom.
nervous
Versnoof.
system and talking about thank you.
So obviously none of us have any questions about Versnoof after that.
I believe it's very comprehensive, but we will be holding a brief question and answer after we finish the third act of our presentation to you, which is discussing the corporeality of Versnoof objects. And so we will need a couple of volunteers for this part as well.
An even number of volunteers.
An even number of volunteers. 8 volunteers. You get to play with clay.
So you get to play with clay.
Half of you get to play with clay.
Do they get to keep their eyes open?
You get to keep your eyes open.
Okay.
Yes. All right, there's one right here. Okay. We've got 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. Step forward. Anybody else? All right.
Okay.
5. Now we need one more. 6. Okay. All right, come on forward. Fantastic. We need sticky notes, right? Pen and paper. I have these. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. All right. I'll grab the microphone a second. Ian, will you be the materials handler? Yes. Or do you want to describe it? All right, so what we're going to do is the first of you is going to sculpt an object out of clay.
We will begin sculpting.
We are going to start by sculpting an object out of clay, and you will watch.
But those of you in the front will not watch.
But those of you in the front will not watch. And so you will all close your eyes while this happens.
Oh, do you want to set up the...
Yes, I'll set up the periscope thing. Ian will explain the rest of the rules as he makes this, with one hand, this thing out of clay.
Are any of you familiar with the game Broken Picture Telephone? It's a game in which you draw an object on a slip of paper, pass it to the person beside you. The person writes down a description of your sketch, passes it to the next person, having not seen the drawing you are describing, draws something from your description, passes it to the next person who only sees your last contribution, and so on until you arrive at the end with a drawing that is vastly different from the drawing you originated. So we're doing the same thing, essentially, with clay. I'm going to sculpt an object. I am sculpting an object of sorts. Our first member of the party is going to write a description, and once of the clay object that they see, and once they see it, they will destroy it. They will crumple it into a ball and pass this ball to the next person, who will try and reconstruct the object from their description of it. We will continue on down the line until we arrive with a final object that is not the object that we began with. And so there's going to be a bit of silence as we get Periscope up and running and as I construct a clay object. If someone wants to make waiting room sounds, songs, do 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 do.
And then here we are. Okay.
You'll all be delayed a little bit. It's looking really good, I think. Yeah, that's nice. Are you going to write it on the thing? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. What is he writing? Let's find out. I can't see. It's a mystery. It's so quiet. Versnoof is actually going to be just a Kickstarter of ASMR videos. That's all that we're going to be doing. Yep. Grind it into the carpet. Don't do that. Yeah, that looks marvelous. Can I have that description for the internet, please?
A cluster of...
Oh, wait, don't read it out loud. Just look at this. Okay. Yes. All right, you can hand me the paper while you make that thing. While you're waiting, you can sit down, because maybe you want to sit down and don't want to stand with your eyes closed. It's okay. Perfect. I need to plug in my phone because otherwise it will die. So I'm going to plug it in and you'll have to lead them over to me. This is a symbiotic relationship that Ian and I have, is that I wait and he leads people to me. Can you lead it over so I can see it? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Here is the object, which will write a description of.
All right, hold it in your memory.
Horror.
Conceive of it entirely, and do your best with a pen to recreate what was.
But don't draw on the objects with a pen. That's cheating. Oh. We're very professional. I'm going to start singing a song while people do this, and it'll go, clay things, what could they be making? Clay things, things made out of clay. And I'm just going to sing that for a while, and if you feel like it, you can join in with me, but you don't have to. Clay things, things could they be making? Clay things, things made out of clay. Clay things, what could they be making? Clay things, things made out of clay. Clay things, what could they be making? Clay things, things made out of clay.
Please destroy this object.
Smush. Blop. May I see the description, please? These are very poetic, all of you. Very nice. All right. Clay things, what could he have made? Clay things, things made out of clay. Clay things, walk toward the camera. Walk over here, walk over here. Yes, make your clay thing. Make it now out of clay things, things made out of clay. Nice shirt, bougie, making things of clay things. If you don't know this about me, I teach second grade. Clay things. This is actually more singing than we usually include in our day as a second grade classroom. Shout out to room 118. Hello. If you are watching this, because I know some of you sometimes look me up on the internet. Hello, I'm proud of all of you. You're wonderful students. Clay things, what could he be making? Clay things, thing made out of clay. Two things. Oh, no, it's going to be incorporated into the one thing. Clay things, what could he be making? Clay things, things made out of clay. Wait, I need to see the description.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Wait, is that the same one as before?
Yes. He constructed the clay.
Oh, okay. No, in this room.
Yeah.
All right. We are nearing the end.
This is your object. You'll be describing in poetic form.
Walk toward the camera so we can see your face, please. Clay things, make things out of clay. Thanks. It's just Blue's Clues. I just realized that. It's taking the wind out of my sails a little bit. I was feeling pretty proud of myself, but I am going to... It's a really good song. It's...
I wonder if Twitch will cut out for copyright.
It'll just be just a black screen, and it'll say, "This broadcast is being censored due to copyright impingement." I like copyright impingement as an idea more than infringement. Like, impinging is like more insulting. It's meaner. It's like, I hate this corporation, but I'm using its stuff. Oh. Smash it. I'm basically doing a greatest hits of sound effects from my games right now, so if you enjoy what you're hearing, then you can check out the rest of my work on lasercats.com. Is there another person? Wiley has abdicated.
All right, could we have you reconstruct it? Have you been like...
I've been totally watching the whole time, so. Yeah.
Just pretend that you've not seen anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Okay. This is the description.
Thinking clay things, children shows get into your head. Clay things, how many of y'all like Blue's Clues? Clay things, Blue's Clues fans in the house, throw up your hands. Woo! Clay things, things made out of clay things made out. It's okay, Wiley, take your time. You do the best clay thing that you can. The clay thing that you have had in you since the day you were born.
Spirit clay.
For from clay we come, and to clay we will return.
No pressure, guys.
Clay things, making stuff with clay things, having fun with clay things, Round of applause for our participants in clay things. Thanks very much. All right, so what we are going to do now, here, let me whip the cord over the other side of it. Whipping it. Okay. All right, so what we're going to be doing is we are going to put this object into the game, into Versnoof, because that's how all the things in Versnoof exist. They exist first as clay. And so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to have to fake do this on the Periscope first, and then Periscope will go silent for a little bit because we need to use the phone to import all the stuff that we do. And then we will do it for real, and then we will show it to you in the game. So thank you very much for your patience. What's Ian doing right now? He is getting up all the computer programs that make video games for us. He's just telling them, like, hey, we're going to do a clay thing. And they're like, oh, okay, fine, it's so early. It's like 12:30. Come on, jeez. And we're saying it's okay. And then what we'll do is that my phone will be like this on its side. And so so you'll see it sideways. And then this base is going to rotate around, and then the clay thing will be like, wah, wah, wah. And we try and listen to like the noises it's making at that time and think about the kind of sounds that it'll emit in the game. And then when it's all the way done, it goes bing, and then we do some magic, and Ian will do that, and we'll put it into the game. So as of right now, I'm going to unperiscope so that we can use the phone for the importing. Thank you for your patience. I'll be providing a verbose description of what's happening while I'm not periscope so that you can see audience members. So I use a program called Oh Snap to take the pictures of the clay. The projects that load up in Oh Snap right now are cubes, fingers, tongues, ears, and bug, and New Project 7. And New Project 7. We have 2 projects named New Project 7. They're secrets, and you'll find them someday within the game. So now I'm making a new project. I'm calling it New Project 7. And I am going to use, do we use landscape or portrait?
We use
Landscape, right? Okay.
But yes.
Yep. And I use the back camera, and I create New Project 7 created. Start shooting, adjust settings, stay here. I'm going to adjust settings. So what I want to do is I want to take the timer interval, and I'm turning it down to, do you remember? 1 second. So it'll shoot a picture every 1 second. And let's see. Is there anything else? Lock the brightness and this stuff. Okay, so now we'll go to shoot. And I'm gonna, something to rest upon. Oh, thanks. No, this is not tall enough. I'm gonna have to just hold it, and it might be wiggly. Okay, so I'm just going to hold it, and it'll be sort of wiggly, and the laptop will be in the background, but that's okay, right, Ian? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to hand the mic to Ian right now, and then I'm going to take the pictures.
Hi, I'm Ian. Kyle's taking the pictures. This normally takes about a minute, so you have a minute with me saying whatever comes to my head, which is going to be...
Oh, there's the lock. Okay, focus locked. I got it.
nothing.
Y balance. We're going. Here we go.
Okay, here it goes. Get excited for the detail that I'm sure you can see from your seat way in the back of this little clay thing spinning at a rate of 1 rotation per minute.
Start timer. It's going. It's really wiggly because I'm nervous.
That's all right.
I will say one thing. In between Versnoof and Botolo, we have Damien DeFedes in the audience, and he is here with a game called Super Hypercube, which is a Sony VR game. It is discreetly tucked away in a secret location. If you would like to be considered for an elite crew of people who will go experience Super Hypercube during the day, just go talk to Damien. He was just raising his hand, and you can get on a list. No need to do it right now, but throughout the next throughout the day, they'll be letting people into that at 3. So.
Should I start it all the way over? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's terrible. Okay.
Everyone yell at Kyle.
Oh, I made a mistake. I'm terrible.
Thank you, Alan.
All right. I still like you. New project 7. Create just settings. 1 minute timer.
So, what we messed up together, because we always mess up together, never individually, is what this does is it takes a picture from every angle that we need so that we can render the object in the game, and then we have to take one of the background because we're going to subtract the background from the image. And we forgot to take a picture of the background. So there was nothing to subtract it from.
I did it now.
Okay.
So if you're doing like a difference, Matt, don't you have to keep the camera incredibly still?
We do. It's going to be bad.
We could have made like a clay tripod or something.
That is a really good idea.
It's kind of a clay tripod, and if I could put it on it and shoot it,
Yeah.
it would work really well.
Yeah, I should have made 2. Oh.
I think we should just put it in like that.
Yeah,
You
I
should
think we
just
should
put
go
it
with
in.
it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Terrifying non-Euclidean monster.
So, unplug. Let's unplug. Yep. And plug in. Okay. Come on.
This is basically just green screening, but like the lowest tech version you can imagine.
Where's my phone?
guys considered purchasing a green screen?
The thing is, that costs money.
I think you can use like green poster board.
We do use a black background
Okay.
usually on the poster board.
And so all of the models that you guys create, are they all basically white clay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we do the coloration in Photoshop. Yeah, try the other side. Waiting on things out of clay, waiting on things made out of clay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
I mean, there aren't very many of them. It fell over.
Yeah, let's
May
use
they
the
ask
question.
questions? I don't have a remote mic, but you can yell your question out in this giant cavern of a theater. Okay.
Is this turning these into a 3D model?
Not precisely. It's going to be rendered in a 3D environment, but it's just we're stuck along the same axis.
Have
of
you
it.
played the acclaimed game Wolfenstein 3D? Yes. All right. So you know how, like, in Wolfenstein 3D, if a Nazi is walking directly towards you, like, you see, like, one sprite, and it's like, Nazi just kind of, you know, mein Leben, you know, like, just towards you. And then if you turn to the side and, like, sneak up on them, it's a totally different sprite, and they're just, like, marching off to go do their Nazi stuff, like in their blue corridors. That's exactly what we're doing with Versnoof. We're just like capturing 36 angles so that it's like ridiculous. Yeah. Thank you. Other questions? See, it was just such a thorough presentation. There just aren't any. We've answered
It's
all.
interesting seeing people go back to some of these older techniques because that's how Paloma does like Gardnerium and some of the stuff that she does. It's a bunch of 2D animations that are attached to a 3D sprite sort of.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm saving all the photos to my camera roll, and then I'm going to email them with electronic mail to Ian. They'll travel through tubes that go all over the world, and they will arrive back here through the air to Ian's computer, and then he will be able to put them in. Yep, there they are. And then there's the moment where it falls over. Good.
I see we've got some new folks coming in.
Oh, nice.
If you have a seat, make sure, and feel free to order
Can you
stuff.
finish that up?
Be sure to stay in that
Just
seat.
tag all of them and then press mail and then send it to yourself. Okay.
And we're doing our programming in about hour and a half blocks throughout Fantastic Arcade. So we'll do regular ticketing regular checks the way we would during movies.
While we are waiting for this delightful clay object to become a digital object and have its corporate reality just erased and vanished, would you like to see the game? Okay. Let's play Versnoof. Some of you might have played Versnoof already, and so you might have had the experience of starting it up and having Windows protect your PC, because it's very dangerous. Run anyway. And then you got to make sure that you've got all the stuff you need on your computer stuff. Yes. It disappeared. Uh-oh. It's too many of them. So select fewer of them and then just do it. All right, so it'll pop up and you'll see like this black screen. Here it comes. Black screen, hanging out. And you're like, this game is so good. I love using my imagination, and they knew this about me, and now I get to use it. And here's the thing that you can do. I don't know how loud this is going to be. Maybe cover your ears. Let's find out together. So loud. Can Can I get some sound?
Try and Versnoof again.
Oh, wait. There we are. Like, really crank it now. There we are. Okay. And so, this is Versnoof. You start in this place. You can do this, and you can walk around, and it's about getting accustomed to your new body. That's odd. Oh, what's that? What a strange place. I think I'll go this way. What could these be? So something that I love about this game is that everything in it will eventually make its own special kind of noise. And so just going up to things and having them scream at you, it's one of my favorite things in real life. And now through the magic of video games, like it's an experience that we can all cherish together. So I like these little egg pod things. I'm going to use what I call them, but you can call them other things. I like them because who among us hasn't walked up to like a small, like unidentified, like egg pod and said, "Hey, how's it going?" And the egg pod's like, "Ah!" And you're like, "Oh, cool. So we'll catch you later. I got to go to the store and get some bread." Oh, we're in a tunnel. Different sounds. I think that these things are really friendly. I mean, it's just like, they're just popping up and just being like, "Hey, I'm just really glad that you're here." And I find them comforting. Ooh, Should I go left or right? Okay. Further in. Oh, another choice. Left or right? This appears to be a dead end. It's full of those delightful screaming egg pods, but there's not much else in here. So I'll return the way that I came. I was coming from there, so I'll go down there. There's that way, or that way. Friendly mushrooms this way, so I'm gonna go this way. I think this way. Oh, it's opening up a bit. It's important whenever you're doing home design to have really good entryways, and so I think entryways really make so much of a difference, because when you are going into somebody's house, the entryway is where you compose yourself and you prepare for the interaction, and it sets the tone for what you're going to encounter there. And so you go into somebody's really nice entryway, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be such a good time. We're gonna have some barbecue, some shrimps or something." and like just drink some beers, and it's just gonna be such a good hangout. And you go into somebody's mudroom that's like just totally full of like just stuff, and there's like a disassembled microwave, and you're like, God damn it, I want to go home. And so we worked really hard to make sure that the what do you call that, foyer of the game appropriately prepared you for encountering wide open space and feeling a certain way. So go ahead and get in touch with your own feelings right now and think, how do I feel about this large open space? Oh, that's me. These sounds were really fun to record. That's my job mostly in Versnoof, is the making of sounds. And Ian's job is the making of triangles. And together we are the makers of clay. So I'm giving away too much. I really like it when the caves get big enough that you can't see the opposite wall when you pulse. That's a fun feeling. Oh, there it is. Silence. Ah, a smidge of red. Well, that's weird. Wait a second, are you playing too?
The object is...
What have you...
put it in the game, but I can't find it.
Oh, dear.
So I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'm going to keep walking around. So Versnoof is a walking simulator. It's like, what would it be like to just walk around if you were really have this beautiful and grotesque new body and couldn't see? Is that the way? This feels promising. Ah, yes. Okay. So we have arrived at the structure that we refer to as the cliff. This is the end of the world, or thereabouts. Right now, all Versnoof worlds terminate in this cliff, and there's a wide basin at the bottom of it. We'll go down in a second. I think we're down now. Yep. And in the basin, there's nothing. Is it? Where is it? Okay. Let's do it. Ian has imported our objects, which, what was the final description of it?
The final description was... 5 snakes hug, smiley face. They're kind of aligned, but very twisted.
Okay, so let's take a look together at 5 snakes hug smiley face. They're kind of aligned, but really twisted. Periscope, periscope. I've never used it before, but it's kind of dope. Periscope, periscope. This is something that happens to me rather frequently, is that Jesus Christ Superstar songs just rewrite themselves in my head with different lyrics, and I just have learned to just be a conduit for them because resisting is painful. This is my Twitter, everyone. If you follow me, then sometimes you can come here and you can just be like, that is a really exquisite Lisa Frank background. Jana Kinsman was the person that made me aware of this avatar. Let's click on it. This is just how it just sums up so much of how I feel about life. I love it so much. Thank you. All right. Please stand by. Oh, it's going to pop up that thing again. Good. Good. Ian, would you tiptoe around and close that for me? Thanks. Snake hug. Start broadcast. Okay. Why do I keep putting it in the stand? This is an unfortunate decision I've made. Okay, so here we go. Ian is going to walk us over to our new friends. 5 snakes reach toward the sky and hug. Oh wait, I have to click on it. The internet is hard. The internet is hard. I'm gonna unplug it. Sorry, that's very unprofessional. Everybody yells at me about those kinds of things, but I don't want to get some feedback because I love feedback, but it's not for us.
All right, you can see 5 seconds ago, sort of, this object on the screen that is like bizarre things are happening to it. Normally they look like actual objects. But this one, because we could only email about 5 images, we got good 5 frames of it, and they're all clipped. I'm going to walk around it a bit.
Maybe you should turn on superhero vision so that... Okay. Ian's turning on superhero vision, which is like hero, but spelled like ear, like with your ears. And it's something that will only very rarely be available to you in the game. But look, you can see everything, all the things. I'm listening to myself right now saying things on my computer, like from 5 seconds ago. It's a fun little time machine. Yay! Look, you made this thing for us. Thank you very much. Let's have a clap. Yeah. All right.
This will be in the final game, by the way, somewhere.
Yep, we're going to put it in. Backer rewards. I'm going to just look at myself now and mute that. Okay. So now you've seen the game, and you've seen what we think about the game, and is there anything else you would like to know?
Yes.
Yes, the whole thing is procedurally generated. Yeah. I mean, what we're doing is that our goal is to have the game that you can walk from top to bottom, the whole thing, like without, like there won't be any loading screens or anything. So it's just going to be one super huge environment. And then when you finish it, then you like turn your computer off and go outside and like admire your human flesh and how exciting it is that you inhabit it. Like that's our goal. And then cherish like all of the rotting and decaying things in the world too for their contributions to our lives. So like that's why we just want to have it just walking from top to bottom, no interruptions. It's my favorite part about Dark Souls is like when you're good at the game and you're just like, whatever, dude, I'm going down to Blighttown and it's not even a big thing anymore and I'm just going to walk down here. And like, you can just walk forever in that game. Dark Souls, the best walking simulator.
Can you talk some about the sound design and the process of that?
Yes, absolutely. So in the past games that I've made, I've like adhered to like a pretty strict sound design regimen for a long time, and that is I make a noise with my mouth, and I record that noise with the Nintendo 3DS, and then I pitch the noise up and down a bunch and add some envelopes and make it loop, and then when it just sounds bonkers, I'm like, the sound is done. And I've done that for a lot of games, like ever since I made this other game called Ow, and it's a game set in Terry Kavanaugh's mouth, for those of you that like V. It was while he was having a toothache, and I thought the best way to cheer someone up is to make a biological horror game in their mouth. So that's what I did. And that was when I started using mouth noises. Oh, it's the best. If you make games, make mouth noises for sounds. It's so fun. And it makes your game sound like nobody else's games. There's a really good Jonathan Whiting game called Blood Snake, I think, that he made for the most recent Ludum Dare, and it's all mouth noises, and it's great. It's like Snakebird, but you're eating people inside a facility trying to contain the blood snake. It's great. It's so squishy and lovely. So what I did for Versnoof is totally different. We started with mouth noises, and I was just like, it just didn't feel right. It sounded like a human making sounds. And it's hard to make a serious video game that's serious and scares people maybe and is pretty, and just using mouth noises. So there are some mouth noises in Versnoof, but like the pulse is a mouth noise, actually, pitched way, way, way down. I use mostly free tools for sounds. I've noticed I'm periscoping my ear. Good.
Because we're talking about sound.
Yeah, this is a visual aid. So I use mostly free tools to do sound stuff. I use Audacity for almost everything because it works for almost everything, and I haven't had the experience using Audacity that I'm not able to produce something with enough work. It is a lot of work, though. It has some really dumb things that it does, and sometimes it just like blows out everything because it runs out of memory, and you're like, why? And then you're like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. And then you make a noise tape, and then you just get it out of your system. So, yeah, so what I do is for most of the sounds in Versnoof, I find sounds on freesound.org, or I find sounds on the Macaulay Institute. Is it an institute? An organization that recently like archived and cataloged like thousands and thousands of field recordings of birds and animals. Birds are not animals, that's why I separated those two. Birds, animals, and insects, and arthropods of all sorts. Like, there are all these natural sounds that now just exist on Macaulay.org. And Macaulay's the name of my daughter, whom I love very much. So it's like kind of fun to have a website that's very useful to you that also has her name. That's fun. So you can like request these sounds of like horseshoe crabs skittering across the floor and like making these screaming noises. And there are just all these exotic sounds that are part of the soundscapes of nature, like in places where humans can't go. And I've always been inspired by being places where it's impossible for humans to live. So we've created a game where you were a human and now you're something else. And so you can go to all of these places and hear these like horrifying soundscapes that are really pretty also. I think that being horrifying and pretty is important to do both at the same time. So the sound for the pulse wave hitting the wall, because it goes out and it hits a wall and then it bounces back, and then you see how big the room is, which is why when we were in those big rooms, like it wasn't making sound for a long time because it hadn't hit the wall yet. That is the sound of, you know, on the 4th of July, you get like those packets of bees, and you like light those bees and they go, and they like get into your hair, and you're like, God damn. And then there's bees. Do you do that in Texas? Do you do fireworks? Like, is that something you do? Anyway, the sound of the pulse hitting the wall is like 33 variations of the bee takeoff sound. like clipped up in Audacity and enveloped so that it has like a slow attack and it doesn't sound like a bee. But that's what I did for that sound. I'm just gonna keep talking about it. I'm gonna talk about every sound in there. The sounds.
Every single one.
Yeah. Both a little bit. Like we actually like we talk a lot about the sounds like when we're making things and for the area, and we consider a lot like the like whole frequency range of what you're hearing. Like we want to make sure that everything has like its little frequency shelf to sit on so that they're distinct, because our goal is that you are able to use the sounds to convey a lot of information about your surroundings, much like real echolocation would work. So it's important to us that the sounds are distinct and that it's not like a soup of stuff that you hear and that they're cacophonous, but they sound nice together, like a good cacophony. So it was like for the sound of the pulse hitting the large pod structures in the opening area, like we discovered that what we have been doing is triggering tiny little sounds like every time the pulse hits like a small instance of those objects. And that works for some things, like in the tunnel, like those like froggy mushrooms that make that like nice cheerful frog noise. Those mushrooms, like each of them are triggering their own little sound, like a little constellation of sounds as the pulse goes down the tunnel. But we discovered for like the big rooms and the big clusters of stuff that was just playing too many sounds.
It was like 700 sounds at once.
700 sounds at the same time is too many.
Too much.
Our Ian has made an amazing sound engine that can do something like 500 sounds at once.
Yeah,
I
on
think.
a good computer.
That's our box. Like we know that like technical specifications are really important for video games and selling them particularly. There are people that will not buy a video game that has fewer than 200 simultaneous sounds. So like that's like something we really want you to know about Versnoof is it can play 500 sounds at once. This is top of the line, cutting edge technology, and like. Yeah, we have the frame rate indicator in there for those people that rate games on frame rates, like on Steam. Like it's really important for us to reach that audience as well. We got your back. We're real. We're making a real game. It's real. My computer has died. So yeah, we made the big cluster sounds by basically making a little collage. I guess I'm just broadcasting to Twitter now, so I'm going to ignore all of you now. We made like a collage of sounds so that it was one sound, but like a bunch of the same family, like all playing at the same time. I think that for those I used, I think wind chimes, like a Paul stretched wind chime is what it is. So yeah, I use Paul stretch also. I just recently discovered it. It's so fun. You can just make anything sound really good. It's like any sound you put it in Paul stretch and it's better. So it's like any song too. Like you have a song, you put it in a Paul stretch, you have a better song. It works on everything. Thank you for asking that question.
How much play are you go through?
Actually, not that much. We destroy the objects after we photograph them. So we just, every object in the game is basically the same clay reconstituted into new forms.
Yeah, just never look back. The fun thing about like destroying all the objects as they get made too is that like grime and hairs get stuck in the clay too. And bad. It's and so like
gross.
The later objects in the game are gonna be super scuzzy. And like by the time we get to the last area, you're just gonna be like, God, why am I still playing this? You're just gonna want out, but you can't. Like we're going for like eventually like we want like a merging of flesh and steel, like Tetsuo the Iron Man like kind of thing happening while you play this game. Watch a lot of Cronenberg and like believe that these things are important for the future.
The scale is generally determined by this little rotating platform, so about this size, usually smaller, but we can't get too much bigger, otherwise it gets out of frame and hard to photograph.
Is it? Oh. Okay.
Technology has failed us once again in every way.
I'm not stopping the stream, it's just going to be my foot. It's on my foot now. It's my foot. I love you. Thank you if you're watching. There are 4 of you watching this. Thanks. Thank you. It's 4 people that are like, they're holding on to
It's
the bitter
great.
end.
I really appreciate those 4 people.
I feel bad now that I put them on my foot.